The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you. Little beats in me will die.
Breaker 19, this here's a rubber duck. You got a copy on me, Love Machine? Oh, 10-4 pig pen. For sure. By golly, it's clean, clear to Taco Town.
We got ourselves a 10:30.
Yeah, we definitely got us the front door, good buddy. Mercy sakes alive, looks like we got us a convoy.
Arizona, noon on the 7th of June when they highballed over the pass.
Hey, welcome to Talking Truth to Power. This is your host, Brendan Trainor, and I'm here with Leland Faegre, as always.
I thought you were calling in from your 18-wheeler.
Yeah. Do they, you brought up a good question. Do they even use those anymore on the
I
trucks?
got nothing but good questions.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to them, but I've got good questions.
Well, we had a convoy last week, but it wasn't on the road. It was a Twitter convoy.
Uh-huh.
And we had, ever since the January 6th insurrection, which is worse than anything since the Civil War.
The melee
Yeah, the melee.
of trespassers.
Yeah. There's I don't know if the listeners are aware of him because he's a young man. He's probably still younger than 25, but his name is Nick Puentes, and he is head of the America First movement, along with Michelle Malkin. He calls her Mama Bear. But anyway.
He's part of the America First movement?
Yeah.
That's a guy I'd have over for dinner, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
That's
sure.
Welcome into that.
But after they put him on the no-fly list, he was scheduled to speak in Florida on the eve of the passage of DeSantis's big tech bill. But he wanted more. The bill is hailed as a victory, but it only covers statewide candidates. And he and America First, they wanted it to cover more, and not just social media, but also social media connected platforms like PayPal, that ban you.
Yes.
But so he tried to board a plane. He didn't know anything about it, really. He tried, except they took him off the pre-check list, but that's not a big deal. But then he went to and tried to board two planes at O'Hare in Chicago to go to Florida, and he was denied boarding on both of them. Then he went to Midway and tried to get on a Southwest flight, and he was denied boarding there. So he's a political prisoner of the no-fly list, and people have always suspected that the no-fly list would be used not just for terrorists, but for political reasons.
For bias.
So he posted a Twitter, said, "I can't get to Florida today because I'm on the no-fly list," and so on, and then all of a sudden, the thing about Nick Fuentes is that he's kind of persona non grata.
Yeah.
On the most of the left liberal and libertarian influencers that you see in social media, they won't have him on to discuss because he's very much a social conservative, is my opinion. I mean, he's the reason why I like him, first of all, is because he's against the special relationship with Israel and against all unnecessary, regime change wars. And he's also an immigration restrictionist, compared to the left anyway. So then he spoke on a show and said, "I'm being punished and persecuted for merely attending a political protest." If you don't remember, he spoke at that protest. That protest that was emceed by a black white supremacist. Remember that? It looks like Sammy Davis Jr.
A black white supremacist.
Yeah. There's a lot of them around now. There's a lot of black white supremacists attacking Asians. Did you notice that?
Yeah. They seem to be the most recent target, aren't they? Yeah. Damn Asians.
So what the convoy was is that there was an outpouring of support for him on Twitter. Lauren Chen was Chris Christopherson was the hero in the movie. Lauren Chen is a wonderful little Asian American influencer, and she said Nick Fuentes is now on a no-fly list, and then in quotes, just build your own airline.
Yeah, that's what we should do. We need our own country, and this leads to the issue we've been talking about on the show now for a while, is the secessionist movement.
Right.
We should just form some sort of a contiguous relationship with like-minded states.
Mm-hmm.
And to hell with the federal government.
Yeah. Well, it would that were possible, but it, like...
It's going to be logistically difficult, yeah.
Yeah, but
I think that's where we're going.
Yeah. Or maybe a digital state or something, but we'll figure that out. But yeah, so
they can have their socialism.
Right.
See where that goes.
Yeah. So then after Laura Chen, we had people like Paul Joseph Watson, if you don't know him, but he's a British commentator, very based, and
he has a column, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I
and
think
he
I've seen
does videos, a lot of videos. Michelle Malkin, Nick calls her Mama Bear. She's considered the spiritual guider of the America First movement.
Why do you think she doesn't have a show, a television show?
I don't know. I mean, it's
I've often wondered about that.
right. I
mean,
would think that she should be able to have one.
Well, especially now. I mean, during the Bush era, that would be one thing, but now I think she's an integral part of what we're doing on our side of the aisle.
Right. Right. Well, I can't answer that. Maybe we can get a chance to ask her sometime.
I didn't even mean to interrupt. It just was. I've always been wondering, in hindsight, since the Trump era commenced, why she doesn't have a show. Same with who's the other one on Fox that does? There's a big gun promotion all the time. Can you think of her name?
A female?
Yeah.
No,
Uh,
I don't know who you mean. Big gun promoter?
Yeah.
Oh, the former head of the NRA, right? Or former spokesperson for the NRA.
Spokesperson.
Yeah.
You're talking about the right
she
thing.
has a radio show somewhere.
She does radio, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's on a lot, but she
Yeah.
doesn't have her own show, and I always curious about that.
Well, we're going to finish up about the convoy when we get back from our break.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ,
A Lotus broadcast station.
the power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host, Leland Faegre. And we've been talking about the Twitter convoy in support of Nick Fuentes. And, he's one of the people, Elijah Schaefer. Now, these are blue check people that started joining the convoy. Started out with the base people, like Michelle Malkin and Laura Chen. Yeah.
Hitchhiking?
Yeah. And then the blue checkers started joining in. So Elijah Schaefer, he says, Nick Fuentes, one of the most banned right-wing commentators online, was put on the no-fly list. And some have also been blocked from buying a firearm.
Mm-hmm.
And
sure.
then Luke Witkowski, another blue checker.
That fits.
Glenn Greenwald. Now, the reason why he's one of the most banned commentators is because he's not very gay-friendly, and he also is a Catholic traditionalist.
Which is why Greenwald is coming into the
Yeah, so
conversation.
Greenwald came into the conversation, and as you know, he's gay, but that didn't let him stop him because he's not that kind of person. And so he read... He talked about how the old ACLU said the no-fly list was one of the worst and most abusive assaults from the war on terror, no matter who it's aimed at. And it was supposed to be for violent terrorists, but now it's for political opponents. Mm-hmm. And then Ethan Ralph, another blue checker, joined the convoy. And then Breaking 9/11 joined the convoy. The Columbia Bugle. Now that's something. Outrageous. Why the H is Nick Fuentes on a no-fly list? And Nick Fuentes did nothing wrong. And then, it just keeps going on. And it was a good thing to see, because you get all these normally pretty much middle-of-the-roaders coming on to defend someone that they don't agree with, at least on the social conservative issues.
Sidney Powell says we're living under a communist totalitarian state as we speak.
I think
I
it's
don't think
worse
there's
than
any-
China.
I don't think there's any
I
question
mean,
about
people
it.
talk about social media
Yeah.
in China, but I
Right.
think this is worse.
Yeah, we're going to have credit scores that are commensurate with the federal guidelines,
Yep.
just like China.
Yeah.
Thou shalt not do this.
No. So we stand with Nick Fuentes and America First. There's a blonde guy with an America First cap on. And then
Can you show it to our
even
listening audience?
Dinesh D'Souza joined the convoy.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Good
So-
for Dinesh.
Yeah, good for Dinesh. The thing is, Emerald Robinson, I think she's a former White House correspondent. She
Yeah, why
joined
does
the
that sound
convoy.
familiar to me? I can't place her, but the name is
Yeah.
familiar. The Ohio Republican Party is going to vote on Friday to censure 10 anti-Trump rhinos who voted to impeach him.
Yes,
on
and
Friday.
we all know that
One of 'em's
Mitt
gonna-
Romney didn't fare well in Utah.
Yeah, it was really
Although they
something.
didn't censor him, they just booed him.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
That was on something that couldn't have happened, just a few years ago.
So the lovely Cassandra Fairbanks, we've talked about her. She's a darling. She joined the convoy, and then Nick Fuentes. After all this, he tweeted out, "I am a civil rights icon."
Even if it's self-declaratory.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. If you can't pat yourself on the back, who can you pat,
Right, right. And then Tucker Carlson brought it up, but he didn't, about people being put on the no-fly list that were at the convention, but he didn't mention Fuentes' name. So Fuentes tweeted out, "Say my name."
Yeah, fill in the blank.
Yep.
Shut up. Reagan from the grave.
So this is a good sign. We have to put aside the less, the differences that we have in order to attack the core problems.
Well, especially right now.
Right.
Yeah, if it was ever possible, we have to do it now. Yeah.
Right. And there are a lot of people that don't want to associate with the alt-right, as they're called, because of their views on, race and genetics and things like that. But they are anti-imperialism. They just want America first. And, the original Jacksonians, they weren't against foreign wars because they thought, it was intrinsically evil as a general principle. A lot of them were against foreign wars, like, for example, the Philippine insurrection. I don't know if you remember that, but we weren't born. It was before our time. Yeah, it was around 1900, but that's when we acquired the Philippines in the Spanish-American War, and they thought that Filipinos naively thought we were going to set them free, but we decided not to. Mm-hmm. And so they put up a 3-year insurrection. There was a couple of 100,000 Filipinos killed. A lot of them were from disease, though. All these white soldiers coming in, I guess, or all these American soldiers spreading disease.
We took it on the chin for not entangling our destiny with the Philippines at the time. Yeah.
Right. But so that was probably the birth of what you would call American imperialism. Before that, we had never, although we had had a war with Mexico and with Cuba, we had never gone across the salt ocean to establish an outpost there. And so,
and that's because of the architects of globalism, even at the time.
Right.
Because remember, the framers called them cosmopolitans.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
They were concerned about that, which is why they wanted our Declaration of Independence was to preclude that potential going forward.
I thought Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Diversity.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
That's not what my third grade teacher said.
But at any rate, Nick is a hero, and we're all gladiators in this. So
Well, God, I hope he sent you a check. For
yeah, I
today's
know
show,
for
because-
plugging his show.
Yeah.
Well, he rambles on. I mean, if you want to watch his videos, they go on for an hour. So he's a rambler, but he makes a lot of good points. I've always liked him. What they did in the beginning was, Charlie Kirk with Turning Point USA.
He's also very good.
Well, actually, he's a Bush Republican.
Well, he was.
Yeah.
Like, have so many been,
Well, I don't know if
having
that's
this-
sincere or not.
I think it is. I think it is.
I doubt it.
Because he came down and Trump embraced him down there in Florida at the end of the last campaign. They're friends. They're buddies.
Yeah, we'll see. But at any rate, his America First people are often called the Groypers, and they're college kids, and they would show up at his outreach. He did Turning Point USA was all about campus outreach for conservative campus outreach. But if he's changed, I'd like to see it, because I mean he's a Bush Republican. He wanted 50 million more immigrants over the next 10 years.
I never heard him say that, but yeah, we're in a new era now, and they all disavow that. Laura Ingraham, I mean, come on. Even Rush was cozy with the Bushes.
Yeah.
But that changed when Trump came on the scene.
Well, he wrote the ADL disclaimer that we give for our Jews in the news.
I did not know that.
Yeah, when the Groypers would always get up and ask him about Israel, and whenever they mentioned the USS Liberty, he would say, "I don't speak about conspiracy theories. I don't deal with that." And then when they said that we shouldn't be putting all of our eggs in the Israeli basket, he came out with, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East.
Yeah. He wrote it for us, didn't he?
Yeah, he wrote it for us. So it's ADL approved, I'm sure.
But if you don't go back that far, you won't get any of that. I listen to him whenever I see him turn up
Yeah,
in
you do?
anybody's show. Yeah, and none of that comes out now. So I think that's a whole different, that's history.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But
But like you say, we've
when
got
he,
to find
when he endorses Nick Fuentes, I'll believe it.
what we have to do now is find our allies. We have to coalesce on our side,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't call him an enemy. My friend Gary, who stood up to Reagan, you hear that
Right.
shut up from Reagan that
Yeah.
our engineer sends out from the booth there.
Shut up.
Yeah, there we go. Now, he would tell you that McCarthy is one of those people you really got to keep your eye on, because of his internationalism that doesn't get much
You mean
attention.
the House?
Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one who rooms with Frank Luntz?
Yeah. Can you believe that?
Well, I've slammed him because he's got a special relationship with the Resnicks in California that are the big pistachio growers. They're Wonder Pistachios, and they are probably the only Jews that like farming because they own.
Right. We've talked about them on the show.
Yeah. And so they make money with the Iran sanctions is how they make money. And he's, but he's a Republican, but he's definitely for the Iran sanctions.
Well, the concern is, and Gary's concern is my concern, is that these internationalist affiliations, like the Federalists and not the United World Federalists, and some of these other ones that are not as prominent as the Council on Foreign Relations, are potentially just as dangerous because they groom them into the fold. And so that's where McCarthy is and some of these not so movement-oriented Republicans. So we do have to watch these people.
Yeah.
But you see what McCarthy said about Liz Cheney.
Yes.
He doesn't want to fool her anymore. He's had it with her.
Uh-huh.
So, the handwriting is on the wall. It's going to take a while for the party to shift, but that whole globalist sector of the Republican Party has seen its day.
We'll be back.
The driving force in truck and auto repair. Everybody knows dynamic
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ.
A Lotus broadcast station.
The power of radio since 1967.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power. And
Science!
yes, this, what a great song, huh?
It really is.
Yes. Anyway, we're all
I
being...
wonder if Biden follows that song.
Yeah, I know. He seems to know about as much about science as Thomas Dolby really does.
We choose truth over facts.
Okay, well, there you go.
So, this, the left is continually claiming that the right doesn't understand the science. So we're going to delve into that a little bit in this segment of Talking Truth to Power. And the first one, of course, and the one that's most in the news is, Caitlyn Jenner.
Bruce?
Caitlyn Jenner. She wants to be the first transgender
I still call
governor.
I still call him Bruce.
And
He was such a decathlon athlete, wasn't he?
yeah, he was a gold medal winner.
At the which Olympic Games was that?
I don't remember
76
offhand,
or-
but I guess it was in the 90s or 80s.
when he was a man.
70s, yeah. I think it was 76, you're right.
76. And so,
Bruce.
yeah, he was considered to be the world's greatest athlete
Yeah.
at the time.
He was on my Wheaties box.
Right.
That's worth a fortune now.
Yeah.
So, Caitlyn, even though Caitlyn is a transgender, she's a rock rib Republican, really, when you get down to it.
Talk about soft on Trump. She
Yeah.
was very soft on Trump.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see what she's got in her. But
Right. But she came out against transgender males competing against women in women's sports.
right,
Which is,
no one argues with that.
well, they do.
As it turns out,
Yes,
we have an argument.
As it turns out, a world-class athlete that is a gold medal winner doesn't understand the science.
Doesn't understand transgenderism.
No, doesn't understand it at all. And remember Rachel Levine when Rand Paul was, grilling her? And she said,
familiar.
transgender science is extremely nuanced and complex, and anytime you want to talk about it, you're welcome to talk about it with me.
You know the thing.
You know the thing.
But the fact is, that I think most rational people, a lot of them say, all right, if you take a puberty blocker, we take puberty, if transgender males should compete because they've taken puberty blockers. But what they don't tell you is if they've already hit puberty, as a male, all those blockers do is prevent them from any more maleness. But they still have all the maleness they had when they reached puberty.
Right.
Yeah, so they still have the larger muscle mass that they had, and
And you know what that is, don't you?
what muscle mass?
Science.
Oh, it's science. But that's that's something that they can't get their head straight on, and so that's going to be one of the big culture war battles as we go forward, because even in Nevada they have proposing another equal rights amendment that includes gender
Yes, they are.
in it.
Yep.
So
Afraid so.
And I think most reasonable and most women athletes that have experienced it. The girls. I understand. The girls' soccer team wants more money. They want they're lobbying for the government to demand that the soccer powers that be give them more money. But then I heard that the championship women's soccer team lost to a boys' high school team. And the most famous, what was it, a long time ago when a 40-year-old man challenged one of the first transgender.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Billie Jean King.
Billie Jean King.
Yeah.
Well, no, she's a real woman, isn't she?
Well, but she was lesbian.
Lesbian. No,
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah, all right.
But
so
isn't that the one you were talking about?
I think so.
Yeah.
He challenged her to a tennis
Yeah.
match, and he beat her handily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we know how this thing works.
So, when it comes to transgenderism, the left just doesn't understand the science.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
And the cultural civil war is just as intense as the political civil war.
Yes, it is.
They're one and the same.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is global warming. And of course, we've criticized the so-called science that they use for global warming. But I came across another point that John Kerry never talks about.
He doesn't talk about it?
No. And that is, the theory is that the greenhouse gases, the biggest one is water vapor, and then something like 4% of the greenhouse gas is carbon dioxide. And so the idea, they keep telling us that if the more carbon that we put into the atmosphere, the hotter it's going to be.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
That's a lie.
That's a common myth.
It's not science.
Nothing to it at all.
No. And the reason is something that is really not discussed, but that the spectrum, the UV spectrum, where the sunlight is reflected back from the Earth to the sky where it's supposedly blocked, it can only absorb so much CO2. There's a limit to the amount of CO2 that it can absorb.
You know what that is, don't you? Science.
Science! So what I'm trying to say here, and I don't have a graph to show you, dear listeners, but if you say 400, they say now it's terrible, we're at 400 parts per million of carbon dioxide. But if that's saturation point, you could go to 800 parts per million, you could go to 1,200, you could go to 1,800. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. It's not going to double or triple the heat on the Earth. It's only going to increase it by 1 or 2%. It stops being exponential, the effect of the carbon dioxide, and it becomes merely algorithmical. So, and there's very little that. If this electromagnetic spectrum cannot absorb, or the UV spectrum cannot absorb any more carbon dioxide, then it's not a vast increase in carbon dioxide is not going to increase global warming.
What's noxious about this, how about that for an appropriate
noxious?
word?
Yeah, NOx.
Is that they've been pushing this on kids.
Right.
In public school.
Oh, yeah.
And some of those kids are now, have seats in Congress. It's about 10 of them up there that are passing this nonsense on to people as truth when there's nothing to it at all.
No. But you'll never get John Kerry to admit it.
He wants to eliminate all carbon dioxide.
I know it. That's
Every bit of
insane. That must have been a misspoke.
No, I heard
so?
him say it.
Oh.
It's there were cameras observing his nonsense, so we have it on record now. But it wasn't shared too often. I will give you that.
No.
Yeah, I didn't see it too many places.
Well, so we have to beware of science and politics when they get combined. The science never seems to come out right when it's mixed in with politics.
And science is fairly settled. Let's be honest about it. It's not like you can reinvent that wheel. You know, some of these things have always existed. Pretty settled.
Right. And you study geology and all the different climates that we've had on Earth. One of the major questions to ask is, well, okay, the Earth is getting warmer, but what is the ideal temperature for the Earth, by the way?
Yeah.
And they can't answer that.
And there's nobody to ask.
Right.
And you know, it's common these days to cancel anything. And now the challenge is to cancel science.
Yeah. Or to Sovietize it.
Yeah, all right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Which they're not even doing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not. I mean, the Russians are very, very good with science, as we found out. I mean, nobody else knows how to put a nuclear engine on a missile, and except the
Or at
Russians.
at least no one else that we know of.
Right. Well, that we're talking about the UFOs.
Well, we're getting there. We have a report coming next month, right?
Mhm.
I'm telling you, all that stuff is right here.
Uh-huh.
That's just foreign technology having fun with us.
Foreign in the sense of intergalactic,
No.
or no?
No.
Well, those pulsating triangles.
Oh, it's all
was very
fascinating.
strange.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all spectacular, but I just don't think it's out there. I think it's right here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, when I peel off my face and you see the lizard underneath, then you'll know.
Then we'll know.
Then we'll know.
I wouldn't mind seeing that, maybe once.
Hmm. Well,
So we're going to talk about Liz Cheney.
yeah, let's talk about Liz Cheney when we.
She's gone.
She's out of.
Oh, and Kamala, she's going to be gone too, I think.
Yeah.
This is a desperation that we're witnessing.
Mhm.
That party has nowhere to go, and they realize they've got until next week, a year from November, to accomplish all of this damage.
Yep.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
all they got.
Well, they're not talking that way, you know.
No, they're not. But you and I both.
Yeah,
know
we
that
know. Yeah.
it-
Jen Paskey was saying, "Oh, we've got, you know, we're at the beginning of the Biden presidency."
time is up.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dennis Patterson. I'm the founder and owner of Nevada Advanced Pain Specialists. At Nevada Advanced Pain Specialists, we take a comprehensive approach to treating patients with chronic pain in the greater Reno, Tahoe area.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd. Let me tell you about my favorite non-profit public charity, Wainema Wild Horse Sanctuary, located on the Forsythe Ranch in Hallelujah Junction area. And please go to www.wainemaranch.com. That's WYNEMA ranch.com.
Mustang salad now, baby.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now, back to the show.
And welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. And I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, my co-host, Leland Faegre. You know, even with the masks, the liberals are denying science.
Well, because of the mask there.
Because of the mask,
Yeah.
yeah. The mayor of Washington, D.C. said it was okay to for vaccinated people to wear their masks,
Did she?
not wear the masks, and so on. And immediately she had to reverse it because all the Democrats were jumped on her back, and they seem to want to keep these mask mandates forever. Some of them. And I wonder why. I mean, is it because of the science?
Science.
Or is it because is it because of the fact that they just want more control? Or is it
I think
because
you're
of
getting close there.
Yeah, they're getting close. And maybe the jackpot is because Trump didn't like wearing a mask. So anybody that's against a mask, wearing a mask is a sign of being an anti-Trumper to some people.
That's symbolic.
Yep. Well, and we have the question.
Well, you know, we're the country that has the most vaccinations.
Mm-hmm.
The Seychelles,
Mm-hmm.
off the east coast of Southern Africa.
Right.
35% new cases of COVID.
Right. You know, the thing that I don't like is this sudden insistence on vaccination, and it just they say that it discourages people from getting vaccinated to have all this vaccination propaganda. But to me, it shows something else. I mean, you know, you can't, for example, parents that don't like vaccinations, you know, they have the measles parties like we had when I was young. You know, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, everybody just said, well, you know, just go visit your cousin Bob and you know, you'll get the measles and it'll be over with.
Right, right.
And, but now, you know, everybody has to get vaccinated and vaccination. That's all you hear about. And, you know, we could have been better off, like Trump said, with quinine. Is that how you pronounce it?
Hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah. And there's other drugs, too, palliatives.
Was that Neil Cavuto who said that was going to kill people? You know, I like Cavuto, but, you know, he can be just such an idiot. You know?
I know.
It's amazing.
He's kind of cool some days,
Yeah.
and some days he just reverts.
He's just off track.
Yep. But
before I mention it, Trump has launched his website.
I know. Have you visited
I
yet?
have, yeah.
And did you like it?
Very nice, very attractive. He's coming off of Air Force One there. He's looks very dignified. And you know, we harken back to that Trump era, don't we? I mean, Jesus, bring it on. Let's get back to that.
Yeah. Let's have a little more disrespect for government.
Yeah, right, exactly. Less trust.
And then here's science again. Kamala Harris kisses her husband Doug with her mask on.
Yep. I know. See, our studio audience really likes that one.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't kiss your own husband and you've both been vaccinated, what the heck is the point of vaccination?
And you know, and the Trump or the Biden administration is blaming climate change for the border crisis.
Everything.
Talk about a stretch. I mean, how do they look at themselves in the mirror and get away with that one?
We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what.
I guess.
Kamala was on a phone call with the people in Central America, and
Yep.
she's talking about sending them money for poverty alleviation and
Billions.
not a word about the war on drugs.
Nope.
Nope. Not a word about how many times we've interfered in their elections.
And how that money is going to do anything except fund the corruption that already exists there.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's right. But so, and then, yes, I think it was yesterday or the day before was International Press Freedom Day.
Was it?
And Kamala put out an obnoxious statement about how we must always protect the journalists around the world. And then, of course, she was blasted for that because the Biden administration is persecuting Julian Assange, the world's greatest journalist.
Yeah.
So.
And that apparently has come to a head. I think by June we're going to know where that's going.
Right. If he survives till June, because
Yeah.
he's not in good physical shape, is what we're hearing. And so hopefully that whole thing is going away. That whole Neocon. There was supposed to be some kind of big event in May. I got a feeling that there is too many things happening in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. The overthrow of the Jordanian monarchy was thwarted, and then the buildup of the military on the border with Ukraine, and then the failed coup in Belarus.
Mm-hmm. That was our coup.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden Blinken was in London with the British talking to the maybe he was in Brussels talking to the EU, but he was featured with the British foreign minister, and he's still talking about the international order, the rules-based international order with America at the helm, and that's going out.
Well, they know it.
Yeah.
Yet they're still proliferating the concept.
Right.
They don't know what else to do, I don't think. I really don't think they know.
No, they don't.
We've gone so far in a different direction under Trump that they can't revert everything back on that foreign stage.
Yeah, well, Biden famously announced America is back, but
Yeah.
the neighborhood's changed.
But we know what he meant by that.
Yeah.
Globalism is back,
Yeah.
he thinks.
But, the neighborhood is different now.
Yeah.
It's Russia is a lot stronger. China is stronger. And we no longer have the moral high ground with all this stuff that's going on in our country with the...
Not to mention the Pan-Arabian arrangements that have come up. You know, all of
Yeah.
the individual countries there signed
Right.
on.
Saudi Arabia is supposedly
gonna undo
holding
those?
talks with Iran.
Yeah.
They're realigning themselves to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, and
They've had it
Russia.
too.
Oh yeah, Russia is going to convoy Iranian oil and Russian wheat. They're going to coming in on Iranian tankers to Syria with Russian warships. So there's another convoy happening.
We got ourselves another condo.
Yeah.
Did you hear about going back to COVID for a moment? I don't want to move on too quickly here. Is that he said if you want information on the coronavirus, you got to go to vaccines.gum.
Joe said that, right?
Yeah, .gum, vaccines.gum.
Text 30323.
He really misses calling, didn't he?
Yeah. He should. Why? He should have been a radio announcer.
Well,
I
he should
guess?
have been at least in some comedy club somewhere. You know, he's really good at it.
It's all a stutter, though. We have to realize that he's just stuttering.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Because he doesn't know what else to do with it. Huh?
Yeah. Okay, so
Where are we going here with the? We're just doing a potpourri of issues here today, ladies and gentlemen. So.
yeah, just hang in there.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. Have a seat, Greta.
So I think they're trying. I think the Biden administration is desperately trying to get off Russia and concentrate somehow on China, but it's not going to work.
It's kind of hard to figure out, and which is why I've maintained now, from what I'm seeing, that they really don't know what to do. They want to look like they have it together, but they really don't know
No.
what to do.
They're going off in all different directions.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, 1 minute they're calling the head of a state a killer and has no soul, and the next minute they're begging for a summit.
And we're instigating a coup.
Instigating a coup?
Haven't we got better things to do? Apparently not.
No. So I wish we could have a coup in Washington, but that's not going to happen.
I did see a discussion on Fox and Friends. No, it wasn't Fox and Friends. It was the 5 yesterday.
Okay.
Where they actually broached the subject of CIA influence in the United States. Going back to Operation Mockingbird and all that.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was very interesting that they touched on that, because most Americans
don't know
have
any of
no
that.
idea. It's very likely that everybody you see on TV has at least been asked whether they want to join the company.
Yeah, well, the company is no longer a guest. The company is on the show, and you've got Brennan, you've got all these other actors that are former military and former CIA that are embedded in these talk shows, and maybe that's why they're losing so much money.
You think?
Yeah, they're losing all their audience and everything.
Yeah.
The CIA is actually running our news. It's all propaganda. You have to have alternative media to dig through it, and so they've been trying to censor that, and we just got to keep trucking and finding a new convoy to jump on.
And expose it.
Exactly.